Welcome to the Harmonious Family Life, how to create deep connections, transform your family, and live with confidence and grace. My name is Ulrika Bilby, and my mission is to transform families to create a more harmonious family, where we all can thrive individually and together, using our strengths and unique skills. And today, I will be speaking to Petra Björkman. Petra is the founder of Pusselfamiljen, a forum for parents, relatives, friends, and school personnel of children with additional needs. Married since year 2000 to Jonas Björkman, a former tennis player, ranked number 4 in the world in singles and number 1 in doubles. They traveled around the world on the tour for 12 years while raising their first child and discovering his challenges. Welcome, and thank you, Petra, for taking the time to be here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Ulrika.
Yeah, I'm so super excited to talk to you about actually being a mother and having children with additional needs. We'll be talking about this today, the journey of discovery, of diagnosis, and a way through it. So before we start, why don't you just tell me a little bit more about you and your family and your children?
Yes, so the family is myself and my husband, Jonas, and we have 2 children, Max, who's 18, and Bianca, who is 13. And Max was born when we lived in Monaco, 2003, and Bianca was born 2008 when we also lived in Monaco. We moved back to Sweden 2010. And from the start, actually, Max was just 4 weeks old when we started traveling with him on the tour. And I'd spoken to the pediatrician before, to see, okay, how can we travel all around the world for so many weeks in a row, months in a row, still have a baby who will be content and happy and all of that. And routines were the answer to that. So we were very strict with the routines and everything from the beginning with him. And that was, I think, how we managed actually to have an amazing time on the tour together as a family with him as well.
So when did you first start noticing that something was a little bit different?
It came actually when he started to eat proper food. It was very difficult to get him to eat with different flavors or tastes, or the structures of the food and all of that was very, very difficult. He would never eat a yogurt with a small piece of fruit in it or something like that. So then actually I tried to take like cooking classes. I did everything I could to actually try to see if I could do something, I traveled with some kind of machine that, I could do it in the hotel room, and I bought the products and all of that, but he would not eat anything but one special baby food jar. And I was told by the pediatrician again to say, okay, she said, you know what, you feed him with what he eats. So don't make any stress about that. And I think that was so helpful for us as parents, because it's reduced our stress as well. And so we would travel, in a suitcase with 60 jars with the baby food wrapped in diapers. It was
wow,
special, but it worked. And so I guess that was one of the first signs. Then 2010, Max was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. And just want to mention something with that, because we had so many routines. Yes. I think we didn't know, of course, that he had Asperger's syndrome, but when he was little, but the routines helped him actually to be a very happy child. So I must say he was a very easy, happy child. He learned many languages very, very quickly at a very young age. He knew all about animals. We would never be allowed to put like a lion in a box together with a tiger, because they don't live on the same continent from, when he was 2.5, 3 years old. He would only watch those, National Geographic or Animal Planet. Anyway, but what we also saw as a sign, that was not a sign, he was just a happy child. But we started to see signs that if we were going to do something, we could not just do it like this in instant of a moment. We would have to tell him everything in advance. So we always had to tell him what the day was going to look like, what
Yes.
we were going to do, who we were going to meet, and all of those things. So that was, I think, one of the biggest signs. And when he didn't get, I wouldn't say exactly what he wanted, it wasn't like that, but when it was something that occurred that he didn't know was going to happen, he would have those out, like rage. He would be so angry. It would be, I've never seen anything like it. And that was a bit worrying for me, that we couldn't really calm him down. But, we were in a lot of talks with the pediatrician during all these years, back and forth. And then he started school, and in Monaco, they start school earlier than they do in Sweden, and everything worked quite well in school. But when he came home, he was very tired, upset. I think he kept himself together, to say like that, in school. And then when he came home, he relaxed, and then our pediatrician started to say, because I said to her, I feel in my stomach, it's something. And it's been going on for some years. I just can't point it out. I don't know what it is, but it's something. He's not like the other kids. And then she said, maybe, I'm thinking of Asperger's syndrome, but, and I've actually never heard about it, which is bad of me, but I've never experienced it before. And, but she said, we'll wait a little bit. It works so well in school for him. So we'll just wait for a little bit. And but those were the first small signs, I must say.
And he was also your first child. So you didn't know any difference. And I think what you said about the routines that you had in order, I think that's something that, I know anyway from children on the spectrum, that they need routines. So what you just said there, I think that's a good thing to know, that to keep routines for all children is good, but especially if you have those additional needs, it's so then you help to manage the situation and help
and I think
them as well.
I'm sorry there to interrupt you, but I think also the differences between these children and other children who doesn't have those diagnoses or in the spectrum is that the other children can handle I think all children, actually, it's good with routines for all children, but other children handles it so much better when the routine is, it's not there.
When you change the plan, because when you're in a family, sometimes plans change.
Yes, it does. And I think also that is a very special part of being, they're not so able to being flexible, which also means everyone around needs to be more flexible. And that is definitely something that, like you say, it's you can really see that where you, and like you said, it's the first child. I didn't have any experience, but I could really see in all my friends' children and other children. And then it was really, you could really see that particular part, that he would not be able to be flexible when things would change.
Yeah, and I think what you also said about this with the animals, because we talked about that before, which is also quite typical actually, that they are very particular with things. And is, if the lion lives in one part of the world and the tiger in another part of the world, and then they can't live in the same toy box. I think that's just brilliant.
Yes.
That is just like, no, mum. And for another person, you think it doesn't matter, it's just a toy.
Exactly.
So yeah. So how did, just coming then with a sibling as well, talking about being flexible, that can also be a challenge when you all of a sudden have to accommodate two children.
Yeah.
How did you find that?
I think because we actually waited for quite some time. It's 5 years in between Max and Bianca. And that was actually because I felt that he needed, both Jonas and myself, Max needed us so much. We couldn't be able, actually, in my point of view, to have another child during those years. But when he was 5, Bianca was born. And then he was, I shouldn't say, mature, but he was mature in one way, which he understood would have to feed her, I would have to change the diapers, all of these things. And he was actually very helpful. If he knew what was expected of him, he was very helpful. He was a very loving and caring little brother, or big brother for her. So I must say that was not really an issue for us. When that, especially not because when she was a baby, she was quite easy, if you say that about a baby. But I mean, and also we traveled, you know, we had them with us, both of them, and all of that. It was more when she started to be more energetic. She would, I mean, she could never sit still. In her, you know, in her case, it was much easier. For us, it was much easier. I think to see that a child has got ADHD, it's easier to really see it. In my point of view, even for experts, I think it's a little bit more hidden with any type of autism or Asperger's syndrome, ADD, maybe also those things are a little bit more hard to see. But with her, from a very young age, I mean, she did not sleep during the night. She was awake for 1 to 2 hours every night from she was about 8 months old, but definitely from 1 year, from 1 year old and onwards. I was awake with her every night. She was always like, she would be super happy or super angry and those things. And that was hard for Max. That was when it started to be really difficult because he could not read her. You know, with him, if we kept the routines, if I was always like a little bit on my toes, like, okay, this could actually occur now. So I need to, you know, tell him this can happen. I need to have a plan B, those things. But with Bianca, it was harder because we never knew what was going to upset her. Or also she was very much on him physically. And he likes to hug, which is not so common among a lot of people with Asperger's syndrome. But he at least he loves to hug his family and the members of the family. But he doesn't like when anyone jumps on him, you know. Maybe not so many people likes that. I don't know if, but anyway. But that it would be really uncomfortable for him. So. She wanted her to have all the love and all that attention, and he would not give it to her at that time. That was when it started to be actually very difficult in our family. And those years were very, very tough, I must say.
And that was during that time, you didn't know that Bianca then had ADHD?
No, because she was diagnosed when she was 6. But to be honest, also the pediatrician and I, we were very, and Jonas, we were all very convinced that, you know, she must have this. She actually spoke much later as well. There were so many things also, you can just, you know, tick in the boxes.
Kind of.
Yeah. But they wouldn't examine her in Sweden. They wouldn't look at this and they thought she was too young and all of these things. But we did get some help with medication with melatonin. I don't know if you say that in English. From
melatonin.
Yeah, melatonin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hormone.
And that actually saved us so much. So she started to sleep in the evening and she could actually relax more. So that was but so she was not diagnosed until later, and for us the solution was that we tried to separate the family as much as possible. I think, you know, the strive, I had a picture in my mind before I had kids that we were going to be such a happy family. We were going to have those amazing dinners together, doing fun things and all of that, and living the perfect harmonious family life. You know, I was really, that was what I was searching for. And we didn't get that. We struggled so much. And we always thought, before they were diagnosed, we always thought it was our fault. We were not good enough parents. There must be something we have to change or do in a different way, or, you know, those things.
Yeah.
And I think also, so from that point of view, it was a solution to separate them. My mother has been absolutely amazing in taking them one at a time. We could go on different holidays, you know, all of those things to actually get some space from each other. And that helped us a lot.
Because
and actually, I must mention, sorry, please. Yes.
No, I was going to say that is one of the challenges when you are alone in this, and to have someone who can help you is very valuable.
Yes, no, it definitely is. And I just must mention one thing, because the pediatrician we had, her name is Birgitta Klang, and she was our mentor and during all these years. And I remember one time I called her and I was crying, and I said, it's impossible for us to have a normal family life. And, I was really, really sad. And I said, the children, we can't keep them in the same room. We can't keep them in the same house. And, and she said, it is very difficult to have two children with those diagnoses in the same actually house in the family, but they will have the best start of their lives because they will know different people better when they grow up. They will actually respect, when you are different in that point of view, and they will learn how to handle that in a very good way. So that is a little bit of a hope as well, during the journey, that it's very difficult now, but in the end, at some point, it will be very good. And to be honest, when Bianca, for example, has been in her absolutely deepest struggles, because for us, it's been going a little bit like waves,
Yes.
And the one person who's been absolutely the best with her is Max.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful?
I think it's amazing. And in some families, that will never happen. And in some families it will. So, but it's just, it's been really good from that point of view. But there was some time there where I thought, oh my God, we have to get two different houses. We cannot live together.
Yeah, and I'm sure that a lot of people can recognize themselves in this situation. So it is nice, because now to hear that, your children are older now, and that there is a light in the tunnel. And I think also you touched on something when we talked about the perfect family, that we have this picture, a lot of us, how the family should work and how we all want to be all harmonious and beautiful. But the thing is that by harmonious, it doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. It is just to get all those moments that are beautiful, and you get to capture them, and also see the different strengths that we have. And I think that was so beautiful that you said, that Bianca then feel that, that she can come to Max.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, but I think, and actually that is, for me, that has always been, I think that vision about having that perfect, harmonious family life in front of you, and that you actually it's all up to yourself. And it's actually, in one way it is, but in many ways it's not. And I think if we search for the harmonious family life, when you have children with additional needs, we're never going to have an harmonious family life. It's impossible, because it cannot be harmonious the whole time. And it's actually by capturing, like you say, those moments. And when we are happy about that, maybe one day only has a moment of 5 minutes, and the rest is chaos. And if anyone would have looked into our family in periods where it's been very, very difficult, it would have been everything but harmonious, But the search for, we search for a life and we think it's all up to us, we're never going to have it, because we are looking for something too big. But if we start looking for those moments, and we take those moments, and like we spoke about, you and I, we dance in the kitchen for 2 minutes and we put on good music, or we actually have a walk with the dog, and we can talk with our son with Asperger, or in the car for 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes is what we have to actually be so happy about. And those are the harmonious moments. And
that
when
together to build their harmonious. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think we have to have a different perspective than what I thought before having children. And I think, a lot of my friends as well, even if you have children who doesn't have additional needs, it's not easy to, it's a circle of everything. Everything is like being in the middle of the tumble dryer. But I think having children with additional needs is that you just multiply everything with 100. And the stress levels of those parents who, we had a period of Bianca's life when she was younger. She would, she could take a glass, throw it on the floor, so it would break. Okay, so I would go like, okay, the glass, is broken. Watch out, don't hurt yourself. And then she would take a pencil. She would write on the doors, and then you would run there. Those are the things we need to understand, that this is chaos, and it's not easy to say that, okay, what's harmonious in that family life? Probably nothing at that moment. But if we read the book in the evening and we did have a small time together where it was harmonious for that time, those things are the ones we will build the puzzle. And that is a little bit like also we talk about, like, it's building the pieces of puzzles. That's why I started Pusselfamiljen, the puzzle family, if you just translate it.
That's right. And that has actually been a part of your journey, that you've been going through your own journey, but you've been taking other people alongside with you, and you've been guiding and helping other people and families who are going through the same or similar thing that you're doing. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about that, the Pusselfamiljen, and the journey that you're on now?
Yeah, well, it started when Max had when he was diagnosed in November 2010. In Stockholm, it's very good, you're allowed to come to take classes or courses, and introduction courses or about different themes. That is very, very helpful. And I really enjoyed it. But what I enjoyed the most was actually meeting other parents who also had children with the same additional needs or the same diagnosis. And I all of a sudden felt like they understood what I felt, and they understood what Jonas felt, and I understood their problems. And all of a sudden we were in a situation where we tried to solve each other's problems together with the teacher of the class. And that gave me so much. And I decided after that first course that I took, I decided to, okay, I'm going to create a community, because I wanted to continue to be in contact with them. And so I started a community on Facebook, like a closed community. And it's been going on since then, actually. And then I've invited, actually, it's just been mums in that group, because those were most of the people who were interested in being in the group at that time. And we've been going to see some lectures or also some entertainment, but we also met each other and been seated together with if the children has got similar diagnosis. And that has been very important to me during my journey. And during these times as well, I was asked by the school, because I believe we have to really talk to other parents about this. We need to seek help. I think it's the best for our children. They're going to be much more respected. They're going to be treated much better if people around us know that actually this is not that they want to be naughty, but actually they can't act in a different way. Anyway, so I've been talking a lot to parents in the schools and everything. And from that, it actually started that the school contacted me and asked, could you maybe help some of our parents who just have their children diagnosed? And I loved it, because all of a sudden I felt that, the things that we've been going through and that we have learned from this, if I can give that information to someone else and help them, then I think it's amazing. And so I have always wanted to start my own company with this, have a forum, but I wanted the children to be old enough so they knew what they would say okay to.
Yes.
And if they wouldn't have been okay with it, I wouldn't have done it. But then I asked them, and I said, and it started with actually an interview from Christine Kaspersen in a podcast. And I said to the children, I said, I'm not going to do the interview if you feel that you don't want to be open with this. But if you feel you can be open with this, I really think we can help a lot of people together. And that is at least my mission. That is what I want to do. If I can help one person to get a more, better routines or help out in any way, then I'm very happy. So we're just about to start the company now, and taking on, I've connected some experts. It's always difficult to say experts, but in their area, but people who are working in those different areas of the normal life.
Yeah.
And they meet these children in schools, or as doctors, or pediatricians, whatever. So I'm really happy about that.
Oh, this is fantastic, because that is what we need as parents. We need support, and we need a network, and also someone to ask, when you find yourself desperate on the floor, what am I supposed to do now? And so I think that's beautiful. That's really, really helpful. And I really think that what you say, it's so important that, that we take other people, schools and friends and people that doesn't have these diagnoses around them, and teach them.
Yes.
Because that's when we can grow together.
Yeah. So and understand each other much better, and understand why is this child behaving like this at the bus station, or in the grocery store, and not look at them and say, oh, bad parenting. It's probably not about that, and that we can all be part of that community and helping each other, because this is also one thing. It's not just me helping anyone else, it's that we all together have so much experience, and that can be very helpful for a lot of people, I think.
Yes. Well, that finished off this really nicely. So thank you so much, Petra, for being here today. And if someone want to come in contact with you, they will find you at
Instagram at Pusselfamiljen, Swedish then, Pusselfamiljen, on Instagram, and also on Facebook. And we also have a closed community which you can find on the Instagram. And we also have some people actually from English-speaking countries. So everyone's most welcome to join.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.